Okay, so a lot of people have been getting in contact with me and saying, Luke, can you please do another video about Iran? And of course, there's a lot of incredible developments happening right now, whether it's Henry Kissinger showing up to the Pentagon, the latest comments by Russian President Vladimir Putin, the fact that Iran just shut down a U.S. drone, and other reports coming from the United Nations confirming what I've been saying for a long time now, that yes, the United States is planning an attack on Iran. All you have to do is check out the old reports to see how eerily correct we have been on this specific issue, and especially around U.S. foreign policy. And of course, we're going to get into that plus a lot more in this video. But you need to understand, every time we talk about Iran, our videos are confirmed by manual review to be demonetized, which means someone at YouTube actually watched the video, saw me showing my sources, talking about news articles, mainly outside of the United States, saying, hey, this evidence suggests this evidence suggests this, what do you guys think? And then saying after all that, with no gore, no violence, no cursing, this individual supposedly at YouTube, according to what I'm being told, said, no, you're going to be demonetized in the algorithm, which not only means demonetized for these specific videos, but specifically also downranked in the algorithm, suggested to less people, and the future videos we do will be demonetized and also shown to less people. By the way, the special dolt that works at YouTube and is confirming my videos manually, I got a special message for you at the end of this video, so stay tuned and watch all the way to the end so you can understand what I'm trying to do here. And people need to understand here, this Google YouTube bias is not just against right-wingers, it's against independent media channels like this, which provides news from the outside world to give you a bigger perspective on what is really happening in the world. And of course, because of that, we are punished. But we still do these videos because these videos are important. There's a reason a lot of people are asking me to do these videos. So again, if you want to see more of these videos, your support, your participation, not only sharing these videos, but going to WeAreChange.org, making a one-time donation, making a $5 donation a month. It's just $5 a month. Checking out Change Media University, supporting us with crypto, or even supporting us without spending a dime, which you could do by checking back these crypto-related projects that make you earn crypto as well. Or Hui, just even a P.O. Box. Your support is more important than ever. So please, if you're able to, go to wearechange.org/donate. The link will be in the description, and help as much as you can. Now let's get back to the news. And again, I apologize for having to do that, but YouTube is forcing my hand because there's no other way we could survive if it's not for your support. Now, talking about Iran, which is an extremely divisive issue because we have news articles and sources and talking points coming from one side directly contradicting the complete other side. These sides are, of course, the United States and Iran, official authoritative voices, which are mainly coming from government voices. And a lot of times when we're seeing, quote, news reports, especially in the American mainstream media and also in the Iranian-backed media, we are seeing, of course, predominantly government talking points. Not always, but predominantly, which is important to understand here. Now, the ramifications of this larger confrontation, which more and more people believe will happen between the United States and Iran, are severe and very big. Already, just with the latest tensions happening right now, we are seeing oil spike on the world market, being at an all-time 5-month high. Why? Well, because conflict between the U.S. and Iran would destabilize the world economic markets already. With the U.S. sanctions on Iran, this has made that the price of oil go up since Iranian oil, which is a major producer on the world stage, has not been able to get out there to the world, limiting supply, raising the prices. This, of course, will only skyrocket when the inevitable conflict happens between the two, and preparations are already being made, as we are seeing Israel, of course, not only saber rattle with very strong, aggressive talking points against Iran, but also hold military exercises against one of Iran's biggest allies in the region, Hezbollah. Now, of course, these military exercises do happen on a regular basis, but they do happen more frequently, and there has been a big military buildup by Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States in that specific region, which does need to be addressed and is symbolically represented by these, quote, war exercises. This is also why recently we've been seeing news reports of 1,000 U.S. soldiers being moved towards the Middle East, and of course more U.S. personnel and more U.S. naval ships being sent, with of course also a lot of unknown numbers directly coming from the U.S. government about these occurrences actually happening. Now, even according to the Jerusalem Post, which is confirming what I've been saying for a very long time, but they are confirming this because of unknown diplomatic sources at the United Nations, which again should be questioned in this report, since this report is based on someone anonymous. And according to this anonymous diplomat source at the United Nations, the United States is planning out to carry out a tactical assault on Iran in response to, of course, all the latest escalations that have been happening recently. Specifically, the United States allegedly is planning a, quote, aerial bombardment of Iranian facilities that they say is, quote, linked to a nuclear program. That this attack would be a massive one, but a limited one with specific targets, which honestly, again, is not out of the scope of possibility, since Donald Trump has carried out similar actions against Syria. And then, of course, that was a whole nother debacle that's not even worth going into, but shows how reckless Donald Trump is on the entire matter of geopolitical intervention. Even on CNN, Pentagon officials are talking about the idea of a limited war, a small war. And as said in the interview, quote, but this is how you sell a big war. You pretend you're selling a small war because this is more digestible. And this is an important fact that I was actually surprised brought up on CNN, because according to many polls, the United States public does not want a war with Iran. And I believe that is because Iran is a small regional power with a very weak economy, already devastated by U.S. sanctions halfway around the world, that neoconservatives have been obsessing about for over a decade now. And the American public is like, hey, they're not doing anything to me. They're even the main force in the regions, which are mainly Shiites, that are fighting radicalized Al-Qaeda, ISIS, al-Nusra rebels in the region, which for some reason, this is absolutely insane about the New York Times and their total lack of hindsight when it comes to government sources. But the New York Times, that, by the way, sold us the Iraq war and told us that there was weapons of mass destructions in there because of government sources that they never vetted or questioned. They literally took what Dick Cheney was telling to them and just regurgitated back to you as truth and sold us a war that led to the creation of ISIS and mass destabilization in the region. Now the New York Times, that hasn't learned its lesson at all, is telling us that Iran has ties to Al-Qaeda, which they've been fighting in the region for years now. Why? Because it's a bigger representation of the class of civilizations that has been happening in that region, with Iranians mainly representing Shiites, and Saudi Arabia, which has been financing Al-Qaeda, ISIS, which are Sunni. And those clash of civilizations have been happening. That bigger conflict has been ratcheting up for a very long time. And to now flip the script and to say Iran is with Al-Qaeda is absolutely ridiculous, totally backwards, and absolutely incorrect. But still, that's the talking points they're trying to sell you as they're dead set, and we're talking about very strong neoconservative voices in power right now. They are set on having a conflict, and as the Secretary of State, former CIA head Mike Pompeo said before, of course, military options are on the table with Iran. He said that just a few days ago on June 17th, and with these latest escalations, yeah, it looks like we're on the trajectory for that to happen, as we got the breaking news last night that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard did shoot down a U.S. drone. The United States has confirmed this, with Donald Trump responding by tweeting and saying Iran made a very big mistake. Now, again, this is not the first time that Iran has acquired a U.S. drone. Again, these tensions have been happening for a very, very long time, but people need to realize it and try to just see it from another perspective here, because Iran is another sovereign country. The United States is spying on it with, of course, the latest drone technology. How would, this is just an idea to entertain here, how would the United States respond to Iran flying drones over the U.S. Pentagon, over the White House. What do you think the response would be if that would happen? And those are ideas that, of course, the mainstream media will never entertain, but I do believe are important to understand here when viewing this from a global world context, because this is how the world sees it. And just because of the way the United States sees it does not always make it correct, and it's important to entertain other ideas. Now, of course, this is a major escalation that will only become more of a factor of the future conflict to happen. And again, people need to understand conflicts are already happening. They're happening in Syria. They're happening in Yemen. Those are called proxy wars, where, of course, Iran, China, and Russia are supporting one faction when the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia are supporting a completely other faction. Those factions, those proxy wars are already happening on the world stage. And it does need to be addressed that the larger actions, in my opinion, that the United States is committing against Iran is mainly targeted against Russia and China, their main kind of bigger geopolitical foes who are very close allies with Iran. This is the bigger game that's being played here that does need to be understood. And this is why we need to understand that the latest comments by Putin are not comments that he just said right now by accident. That he knows exactly what he is saying. He knows the game that's being played here. And he even said himself, a war between the U.S. and Iran would be catastrophic, saying that it would lead to an increase of violence, refugees, and of course, sad consequences. That's a very important word here for those who attempt it. Again, the mainstream media usually points out how Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are kissing and making out and like each other, when in geopolitically on the world stage, that is not the truth at all, especially with Donald Trump's latest aggressive actions, sending more military aid to Ukraine, which again is setting the trajectory against these geopolitical major foes, Russia and the United States, to butt heads together. And this is why the carefully worded language here by Vladimir Putin is meant to be as a deterrent here. Because again, you look at the way he phrased these particular comments, there's no denying that he knows the exact message that he wants to send to the world, and specifically Donald Trump himself. And again, there is no love affair here, and that's something that needs to be realized here so we understand how the world really works. Something that I've been calling out, and even according to Wikipedia, is one of the reasons why I should never be trusted as a news source. Yes, under Wikipedia, they say don't ever mention WeAreChange. They are fake news, conspiratorial nonsense, because they don't believe in Russian collusion. You could actually go on Wikipedia right now, which is absolutely insane. Because again, from the very onset of this whole Russian collusion narrative that's being promoted by the mainstream media, we were calling it out. We were attacked. We were called fake news. We said we were accused of being Russian agents. Wikipedia blacklisted us and said don't even mention them when they do legitimately talk about news. When they do legitimately break news, don't talk about them ever, because they believe that there was no Russian collusion. Still, we're getting affected by it negatively. Now, how Donald Trump, again, look at the media that is promoted. Things like the Daily Beast that are literally criticizing Tucker Carlson, which they are alleging is trying to talk Donald Trump out of a war with Iran, somehow framing it like it's a bad thing. And it's absolutely just utterly insane to see the level of propaganda and disinformation being thrown at the American public. Now, Trump allegedly, according to these same sources, no, I won't disable ad blocker Daily Beast, don't you dare. According to these same sources, which should be questioned because, again, they are mainly anonymous sources coming from nowhere. Again, according to this anonymous sources by the Daily Beast, Trump is allegedly telling his aides to tone down the rhetoric. Again, I would question the reputation of this activist organization, not a news organization, an activist organization with a clear goal here, meant to sway your political ideas. And I would question that narrative that they're pushing with, of course, how even recently in the United Kingdom, they voted to suspend arms sales to Saudi Arabia because of, creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now, Yemen. The United States made a similar measure, but this measure was actually canceled by U.S. President Donald Trump, which vetoed a law that was actually passed by Democrats and Republicans saying, hey, enough of the U.S. involvement in creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now with, of course, Saudi Arabia, which more evidence is coming out was directly involved in horrible human rights violations time and time again when they keep telling the world and keep telling the United States that they have changed. Donald Trump has, of course, publicly repeated a lot of those talking points by Saudi Arabia, which again keep proven not to be true and keep causing a lot of damage. With the latest actions, especially a couple days ago, we are dead set on having a confrontation with our main geopolitical foes. We are dead set on countering Russia, and the main way to counter Russia, according to many foreign policy experts in the United States, according to many neoconservatives, is, of course, to go after Iran, because Iran is a major oil producer, and Iran is helping Russia and China, and has helped them previously before develop their economy with, of course, the abundant amount of energy that they have. The relationship with Iran, China, and Russia is crucial here and really does need to be understood. Now, I want to talk to the YouTube person who confirms my videos. Listen here, buddy. Did you see anything here that was wrong? Did you see anything here that was objectionable? Can you let me at least know before you confirm my videos, before you destroy my channel, before you destroy my recommendations, before you don't even show my videos, which you already do, don't show more of my videos to less and less of the people who are actually subscribed to the channel, to are notified to this channel, because that happens too as well. Tell me, what's going on here? Like, here, pay attention. This is important news. These are videos that people enjoy. These are people that need news and information that comes out from outside of the mainstream dinosaur establishment media echo chamber being repeated and thrown against people. News and information is good. There was no gore. There was no violence. There was no cursing. Compare that to CNN, which is mainly an activist news organization that literally was eating human brains on TV. That video is on YouTube. Human brains. The vile act of eating human brains on television. Speculating how a black hole swallowed an entire airplane. Those people are getting special priority. Those people are allowed to talk about this, but I'm not. Come on, dude. Seriously, make the wise decision here. Or lady, because what you're doing here is hurting everyone by destroying independent voices. So yeah, that's the news for today. While it still somehow lasts, again, I'm just here by myself now. While it still lasts, thank you for being here with us, the viewers. Stay tuned for more on WeAreChange.org.